The tragic consequences of a data breach have come to light, revealing a devastating impact on the lives of Afghans and their loved ones. At least 49 relatives and colleagues of Afghans have lost their lives, according to a recent study submitted to a parliamentary committee. This research sheds light on the human cost of such breaches and the urgent need for action. The study, conducted by refugee legal support and academics from Lancaster and York universities, focused on 350 individuals affected by the breach, including those in Afghanistan, the UK, and other locations. Of the 231 respondents who received notification about the data leak from the Ministry of Defence, MoD, an alarming 49 reported that either a colleague or family member had been killed as a direct result. Furthermore, the research highlights the pervasive threats faced by those connected to the breach. 87% of respondents reported threats to themselves or their families, with 43% experiencing direct threats to their lives. A significant 52% stated that family or friends in Afghanistan had been threatened by the Taliban. Olivia Clark, Executive Director of Refugee Legal Support, emphasized the urgency of the situation. This research exposes the devastating human impact of the MoD data breach. By giving a voice to Afghans and documenting their experiences, we fill a crucial gap in understanding the real-world consequences. The breach, which occurred in February 2022, involved the accidental leak of personal details of nearly 19,000 people who had applied to relocate to the UK after the Taliban's rise to power. The previous government only became aware of this in August 2023 when the information was posted on Facebook. A super injunction was imposed, preventing reporting until July of this year. The Daily Telegraph reported in July that over 200 former Afghan soldiers and police officers were killed following the data breach. However, the number of individuals on the leaked list remains unknown. An MoD spokesperson, referring to a previous review, stated, "It is highly unlikely that merely being on a spreadsheet would be grounds for an individual to be targeted." A former Afghan National Army member expressed deep concern about the delay in communication. "Waiting almost 2 years to inform us that our personal data was compromised is unacceptable. Immediate notification could have allowed us to take protective measures sooner." This delay demonstrates a lack of urgency and responsibility from the MoD, especially given our sensitive backgrounds and the high-risk environment. In additional evidence submitted to the Defence Committee's inquiry, a volunteer caseworker, referred to as Person A, highlighted the UK government's evacuation priorities post-leak. He believed that farmers, barbers, and gardeners were evacuated before some members of the UK Special Forces, who were likely at higher risk from the Taliban. One British Afghan described the MoD's failure as a reckless breach of trust, while others noted that highly qualified Afghans brought to the UK were working in jobs for which they were overqualified, such as delivery driving. The Afghanistan Response Route, a resettlement scheme for those affected by the breach, was established in April 2024 and has facilitated the arrival of 4,500 Afghans in the UK so far. An MoD spokesperson reiterated the findings of the independent RIMA review, stating, "It is highly unlikely that being on the spreadsheet would be grounds for targeting." But here's where it gets controversial. With lives at stake, is the government doing enough to protect those affected by the breach? And this is the part most people miss. The delay in communication could have had devastating consequences. What are your thoughts? Do you think the government's response has been adequate? Share your opinions in the comment.